Welcome to Behind the Blue Curtain. This is your backstage pass to the season at Sarasota Opera. This is episode 3. Today we are talking about Brundibàr, the youth opera with a powerful past. I'm Lael Mohib, your host today and the director of marketing here at Sarasota Opera, and also a proud parent of 2 kids who love youth opera. Our usual host, Martha, is on the other side of the table today. She's our director of education and stage director for this production. Welcome, Martha.
Thank you. A pleasure to be here on this side of the table.
And we also have Jessé Martins, our youth opera music director and conductor for Brundibàr. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
I think we have one of the biggest group of children bringing Brundibàr to the stage this year. How many?
Well, there's 82. Our program, like many programs in the country, was quite decimated by COVID. We got down to 19 dedicated kids who were desperately trying to be excited about being on Zoom doing singing. So it's wonderful to be back up to this large number of kids ages 8 to 18 who are excited to be together, who are forming this wonderful community of friends, of collaborators, of cohorts who share their love for music. And so it's really exciting that we're back on the uptick again.
Wonderful. Maestro, why don't we move into talking about Brundibàr? What makes it special? Tell us a little bit about the opera and the story behind it.
Sure. Brundibàr was an opera written by Czech composer Hans Krasa, who was Jewish. During World War II, he was sent to the Theresienstadt concentration camp, also known as Terezín in Czech, where many other musicians, artists, intellectuals were sent to. And in that camp, they were allowed to perform music. And one of the pieces that ended up making its way into the camp was an opera called Brundibàr, which he had written to an orphanage. And the music director of that production also got sent to this same concentration camp, and he brought with him the score of Brundibàr. Then the composer, Hans Krasa, recreated the orchestration for it to be performed at this concentration camp. And many of the children who performed in the opera Brundibàr, because it was performed more than 50 times at Terezín, did not survive. So it has this profound history, a dark place in history. The story, it's an allegory, good against evil. You know, it's 2 siblings who need help because their mom is sick, they have no money, and they need to find a way of buying some milk. And they go into town, they see this guy, the organ grinder, and he is playing music and people are giving him some coins. So the kids decide, we know some songs, why don't we sing? And maybe that way we'll be able to buy mom some milk. So they do, and Brundibàr is a bully and he chases them off town. So they are not able to busk for money there. They get lost in this forest at night, and these magical animals from the forest come to talk to them and to help them figure out a way they can win against this bully Brundibàr. And their solution is, if you're able to get all the kids in town together, you'll be too many for him to overpower. So it's interesting to me that an opera like that, even though it's very short and very simple, was allowed to be performed when at the time it could have been seen clearly as a critique or as, against Hitler. If you see some pictures from the production that was being done in Terezín, the person playing Brundibàr had a Hitler mustache. But the story of the opera, the connection is so direct that it's very powerful.
When people come and they sit down in their seats, the curtain goes up, they may be expecting the sets and the costumes and the makeup, which are all so colorful and fun for Brundibàr. But the curtain's going to go up and we're going to start with the prologue, which is half of the performance. So what can audience members expect from that first half?
The prologue doesn't reveal the sets and costumes of Brundibàr just yet, because we need to journey through different countries and history together to contextualize the piece, right? So we didn't feel the prologue could live in any specific time, and therefore costuming something like that would be very challenging. But we found a look that works for the entire cast, and the stage is open, but it has different areas and levels, so we're able to create this journey that we take the audience through. So yes, you will have to wait a few minutes. Actually, you have to wait until after the intermission to see the world of Brundibàr revealed. But I think what the audience can expect is it's definitely powerful music and powerful monologues delivered by children that will help contextualize the piece, but also, show them a little bit about what these children went through.
There's also fantastic lighting effects that happen in the prologue, so it's not bereft of visual interest. It's just a completely different look, which serves that the two pieces are so different in style and in delivery.
And I know that in creating the prologue, you did a tremendous amount of research into this rich history of this opera. Martha, can you walk us through that research project a little bit more?
In creating the prologue, it was really important to us that this companion piece for Brundibàr not be in our words, but in the words of children who had experienced challenges, struggles, intolerance in their lives. And so I spent an entire summer at many different libraries with the goal of finding all of the diaries or letters of writings of any kind that I could find that children wrote at the time they were experiencing it. So it was really important to both Maestro and I that it not be adults reminiscing on their youth, not that those aren't important, but we wanted the words of children that then would be performed by our children, and the powerful message that would be for an audience. We started out by going to the Holocaust Museum in St. Pete's, right, who were wonderfully supportive of our plan of how we were going to go about this.
On top of these monologues and letters and diaries, it was important for us that the prologue also had music. And part of it is that we wanted to find music that would suit the moments, the dramatic moments, but also we wanted to set words written by those children as the text, as the lyrics of these songs. So, for instance, in Terezin, the children who were there created their own little society. They had a magazine. Kids would write poems. They would make drawings. And two of the songs that we sing in the Terezin portion of the prologue are poetry written by the children in those barracks. And then we found music, in this specific case, by Dvorak and by Puccini, that are beautiful, beautiful pieces that became somewhat even more powerful with these words of these children. So that it was a very special project to work on, and I feel we ended up with something that not only contextualizes the pieces, but like Martha said, we are sharing words that were written by children of all ages in those world wars and conflicts that have been happening since.
So it's a trajectory through Germany to other places in the world, but then we bring it to home, to the States, where we have wonderful writings from children here, but one incredibly special moment we end with inviting our own children to offer excerpts of when they've been bullied. It's extremely powerful that we have children willing to stand up and speak their truth. Our kids are fantastic with amazing imaginations, and they love throwing themselves into Hobbit and being goblins and wargs, or going to rutabaga country with crazy zany things, and they don't lack for imagination. But the fact that they're so able and willing to embrace the honest emotions of all of these other children who have experienced this makes for such a powerful and moving and unique experience in the theater.
We have something special in store. We're going to hear from a youth opera alum who actually created the promotional art for Brundibàr. Now I'm joined in the studio by Pablo González. Pablo, thanks for joining us to talk about Brundibàr.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here.
And where are you in the world? Where are you and what are you doing?
So I am currently in Brooklyn, New York, and I am photo art director at a luxury fashion brand called Chrome Hearts.
And don't forget to add to your very impressive credentials that you created the promo art for the Brundibàr offer this year.
Yes. I created the artwork for the Brundibàr posters. That was a really great experience.
As a member of youth opera, why don't you tell us a little bit about how you got into it?
I got into youth opera when I was, I think, 10 years old. As a 10-year-old, you have all these, misconceptions of what opera is, or potentially you do. My mom was just like, go to one rehearsal. And I liked it. But I didn't want to admit it to her. And she was like, okay, that's fine. You don't have to go back. But we're watching The Magic Flute. They were doing a production of The Magic Flute. And I remember I went with my mom and my dad, and we sat and watched the show. And at the end of it, I was like, I need to do this. I need to be a part of this. And The Magic Flute has solo with the kids. I remember I was like, this is incredible. You see these little kids being a part of such a grand production at such a young age. It solidified my desire to join the youth opera.
I have a 9-year-old son. He went to youth opera summer camp, and loved it. I took him to all the main stage productions. I remember when he saw the closing scene of The Hobbit, he just jumped up out of his seat and was clapping and was, yay! He was physically overwhelmed by the emotion. Adults, we feel it too, but we don't always jump up out of our seat and scream. It is a very captivating experience.
As a kid, you're able to understand humanity and the emotion a lot more romantically. My mom would always make fun of me because I would love the really tragic operas. Carmen is a great example of I think a really incredible tragic love story. Everyone has heard Carmen, everyone has heard Turandot, believe it or not. Once you know the context of where that comes from, it really changes the way that you perceive everything.
Speaking of storytelling and uncomfortable, powerful stories, Brundibàr is pretty heavy for a children's opera, especially with the prologue, Raise Up Your Voice, which Maestro Martins and Martha and I spoke about at length earlier. Tell us a little bit about your experience with that production.
It is a very heavy opera, but once you delve into the prologue and you understand the context of how that opera was written and where it was written, and no matter what is going on in the world, you can create art out of it and create stories that unite people. Whoever's hearing this podcast, if you're able to do the summer camp, give it 1 week and just experience the sound for yourself. It's truly incredible. And it has truly changed the way that I perceive and work.
Well, thank you for sharing with us today.
Thank you.
The last time that we staged Brundibàr was in 2019.
Mm-hmm.
Anything memorable from that experience that you want to mention now?
The first time we did it, I remember, was the first time we had the student matinee of a youth opera. That meant for the first time we had 1,000 kids in the theater to watch Brundibàr. And I was very reticent that, with a big age range in the audience and the fact, like you mentioned, that the curtain goes up and there is no set yet, that these kids would really have a hard time focusing and following the story through with us. And I was very surprised that they were mesmerized by what was happening. And these were, some of them were, middle schoolers, and they can get very rowdy when they are in a group setting, right? So that to me showed the power that the piece has. Like, if we can have 1,000 kids in the theater and they are captivated by it, that to me is the sign that we were doing the right thing.
Well, if you haven't already got your ticket for Brundibàr, I'm sure after that you're going to want to go and get it immediately. Thank you, Martha and Maestro, for your time, and we'll see you at Brundibàr.
See you there.